Are we ready to get started?
Yes.
So exciting. Good morning again, everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming out to our Small Business Center on the Road's Small Business Expo. My name is Kenya Merritt, and I am the Chief Small Business Officer for the City of Chicago. It speaks volumes about this city's commitment to small businesses and to the people who launch them, every single one of you, that such a title exists. We know that small business is the engine of our city's economy, and that's why we are so invested in each and every one of you sitting here today. I am the person that listens to the concerns and issues that confront you on a daily basis, and I translate that into policy as well as programs to help you. Nothing makes me happier than being here at our expo and seeing each and every one of you who will shape the economic future of our city. We know you are well on your way to success, and we are here to provide one-stop shopping for business support and resources. So all of those exhibitors and people that are in that room are there to help you and provide support so that you can launch, start, grow your business. And so it's amazing that we're here in this space. Your energy, your vision, and your dreams are the X factor that gives Chicago its flavor and economic vigor. And we are in the perfect place to talk about what gives Chicago its unique flavor. First of all, shout out to the Washburn Culinary Hospitality Institute, headquartered right here at Kennedy King College. If we can give them a round of applause, as well as the team. They got up early on a Saturday morning to help facilitate our training. And if you guys were in our exhibition hall, you saw some of the students hard at work. So we feel like this is the right place to represent what's happening in Chicago in the food industry with entrepreneurs. And it's so befitting that we have Chef Erick Williams here today as well. And so they are giving students the training and skills they need to be a part of Chicago's record-setting food and tourism industry. No matter where I've traveled, I always come back to Chicago and say that we have the best food here. Whether it's LA, New York, or even internationally, Chicago has the best food scene I've ever seen. And of course, our keynote speaker this morning is rock star chef and owner of Virtue Restaurant, my go-to spot on a Friday or Saturday night for dinner, Chef Erick Williams. But before we get too far along, and we have to thank the people who made this possible, our sponsors, Fifth Third Bank and Western Union. If we can give them a round of applause. Their generosity and commitment to small businesses is why we are here today, and most importantly, why we're here today and why this is free for each and every one of you all. And so we're pleased to have Rhonda White, a personal and business banker with Fifth Third, to tell you how they can help you launch or grow your business. Rhonda?
Good morning. First of all, I just want everybody to give themselves a stand. Just stand up and give yourself an applause for being here today. Because this is your first step. This is your first step to starting your business as an entrepreneur. We are so committed to the community because this expo is committed to you, and we're committed to you because of this. And we have some great programs for you, some great products to get you started. And one of the things the Fifth Third is doing this day only, they're doing a $500 match for your business. So when you open your business with $500, Fifth Third is going to give you $500. That's amazing. And we're also here to do an advising for you because it's not just about the dollars. It's about where you are with your business. It's important for you to know where you are, where your credit is, how you handle, where did you start? Are you an LLC? Are you incorporated? Are you a sole prop? It's important for you to know those things. We can have our dreams. You can have your dreams, but what we want you to do is make that dream a reality. And here at Fifth Third, and one of the things that we do in advising to help you, to help your business to become a reality. So I am so glad to be here. We have a table out. We'll be doing some presentations later on. My name is Rhonda. Touch me, find me. I'm open to talking to you about wherever you are in your business. be it your own personal credit. And remember, your personal credit is important to your business because you are the guarantor of your business. And don't fall short of that. So give us a call, come in and see us, set up some individual appointments, and we'll be glad to help you with your business. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Rhonda. That's amazing. I didn't know you guys were matching $500. I think I want to start a business today. That's great. So before we get started with our introduction to the amazing Chef Erick Williams, I want to acknowledge the BACP staff. I want to acknowledge Ken, who is our first deputy, who is sitting on the stage, as well as our amazing staff. We have a very small team that has put this together. So our team that's doing registration, from our team that's helping with business cards, which is a new component to the expo. So if you came today and you are launching your business and you don't have business cards to give out to some of our resource providers, you can take advantage of getting your business cards with our staff person, Isaac, that's in the front. How many of you all have taken advantage of that so far? It's a cool new concept. We feel like it's working, and we see that a lot of you all have requested cards. So thank you so much for taking part in that. And our marketing and outreach team, which is a team of 3, and they do an amazing job of putting this expo together, as well as spearheading our educational workshops that are at City Hall on Wednesday and Friday. So this is just a tidbit of what we do. Every Wednesday and every Friday, we have workshops that you can come down to City Hall and get resources and training and information about how to start or launch your business. Or even if your business is already existing, how do you leverage social media as marketing? How do you do your taxes? How do you do your book? So all of those are free resources that are available to you. And we encourage you guys to take part in that. And so our keynote this morning is an example of a man that has taken a leap of faith and in the process has become one of Chicago's brightest culinary stars here in the city. Erick Williams, chef and owner of Virtue Restaurant, is a Chicago native who served as executive chef at MK for 12 years and has been part of Chicago's food landscape for over 20. In November, he opened Virtue Restaurant on 53rd Street, and thank you very much for doing that, and has been generating ecstatic reviews for his blend of Southern-inspired dishes and flawless service. Trust me, when I tell you I speak from experience, I speak from experience. This restaurant is amazing. The food is amazing, and the service is outstanding. I've been there 3 times. Again, it's my go-to spot on a Friday or Saturday night, whether you're with friends or you're out on a date. It's amazing. And try the lima beans and the cornbread. They're absolutely to die for. And so why don't we give Erick a round of applause. I'm going to play a quick clip, and then Erick will come up and speak for a few.
The dinner table, as my father has told me growing up, has always been a place that symbolized equality. I always had a place. I was always valued. And there was always a high level of hospitality. All of those things felt like what we think are highlights when we really think of the name Virtue. I spent a lot of time in my earlier years of cooking really focusing and really selling the diner on the technique. People wanted to know there was an 18-hour short rib or 4-hour egg and things like that. Here, I just want you to pick up a perfectly cooked chicken gizzard and bite into it and say, wow, simplicity is very, very challenging to do well. When you only have 3 ingredients on the plate, every ingredient needs to be really, really close to perfect. We know that there is a complex space in a simplistic approach to cooking. And we want to highlight that without the guest having to sit down and read a book on all the very geeky or cool things that we think they should know about the dish. We don't want the ego of the chef to overshadow all the other nuances that are taking place in the room, because we really, really want to focus on the idea of just having a space that feels kind and a space that feels very, very hospitable.
Thank you all for coming out today. Once again, my name is Erick Williams. I am the executive chef and owner of a concept by the name of Virtue Restaurant, which happens to be on the corner of 53rd and Harper. I'd like to first and foremost thank Kennedy King College for hosting such an amazing event, and for our city's commissioner who, in her absence, and her entire team who is with us, the deputy who is present, and each and every person that came out today to make this what it is. Ownership and entrepreneurship. I was asked to talk a little bit about myself, and I've been doing this roughly 20 plus years. And so I don't know how I could squeeze that in the 15 minutes of talking and keep it exciting nevertheless. But when I thought about the idea of ownership and thought about the idea of giving a presentation on that topic, I thought about one thing more than anything, and it happens to be a virtue. I thought about courage. I thought about the idea of standing alone when no one else can clearly understand your vision, when you are trying your best to figure out how to provide resources for that idea, how to craft that idea into a plan, and realize your goal or dream. And so as I sat here and I had the fortune of listening to the ones that came before me, I looked around the crowd, and to my amazement, I saw a lot of unease. And so what I would like you all to do, for those of you that have ever been to a sporting event in your life or cheered for someone, I'd like you to give yourselves a real round of applause, unlike the one that you gave yourselves a few minutes ago that kind of sounded like that. So give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. So there are a lot of aspects to entrepreneurship and ownership. And one of the skill sets that I find to be hugely important is the skill set of being able to cheer for yourself when nobody else will. If you're going to sit here quiet and wonder what profound thing I'm going to say or what I'm going to ignite by the time you walk out of the room, you've probably already fell short of your goal. My only purpose here is to encourage the idea that you can do what you are set out to do in terms of your own craft, your own skill set, and your own business. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. So I started cooking roughly 3 decades ago. I did not aspire to be a chef. I aspired to be in real estate. I thought that cooking would be a means to an end. I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to create some capital and set aside some money and go into the space that I dreamed of going into. I own properties and I am in real estate. But what I found somewhere around 2008 when the market crashed, that it was pretty awesome that I had another skill set that I was able to rely upon. And it happened to be in kitchens. I spent a lot of time asking questions, playing around with food, thinking about what concepts made sense and how those concepts felt to me. In my tenure over the past 30 years, I've opened 7 restaurants for a group by the name of DMK. I worked at the company MK for 18 and a half years before we closed it. And so it gave me a huge body of work over a period of time. I've had the opportunity to cook for people's mothers, for 90-year-old birthday parties. I've had the opportunity to cook for kids, for the first birthday parties, and I've had the opportunity to cook for the entire cabinet of a sitting president. What a ride. And so what does that mean to the person who's thinking about launching their hot sauce business, or as someone just stated to me, the individual who's thinking about doing a animal grooming business? Or what does it mean to the person who simply wants to open their first salon or barbershop or retail store. What it means is, in order to be that entrepreneur or to be that owner, you have to hit the ground running. So there's an African proverb that talks about a lion and a gazelle. And the proverb talks about how the gazelle must wake up early every morning and outrun the fastest lion, because in doing so, it could very well save its own life. And also every morning, every lion wakes up, somewhere in Africa, in some jungle, and they must outrun the slowest gazelle. Because if they don't, they will die from starvation. The moral to the story is, whether you're the lion or the gazelle, you need to wake up every morning and be ready to hit the ground running. Entrepreneurship is challenging, it's aggressive, many days it can be stagnant. And so I've heard time and time again from people, I want to open my own business because I'm tired of working for someone else. And the irony is, as a business owner, you actually work more for people than you ever did, and you increase your exposure. The beauty of working for someone else is they have to pay the bills. They have to be responsible for the bills. They have to be responsible for the safety and care of the plant, the facilities, the inventory, the tools, and so on and so forth. And so once we take on this ambitious project, we decide that we are going to be in care of all of the things that I just mentioned. So why do it? Because there's so many other beautiful things about ownership. The opportunity to make impact, the opportunity to create culture, and one of my favorites, the opportunity to train and develop people to be able to sustain themselves over a period of time. Who could think of anything more gracious than giving of your time to someone else so that they can follow in your footsteps and hopefully create a legacy upon whatever your craft or your skill set or trade is. Many of you will have the opportunity today to have your photos taken and get your first headshot. Compliments of Mario Tricoci. Many of you will have the opportunity to look at what funding feels like as it relates to Fifth Third's commitment to the community. All of you, I hope, walk away understanding how to build and apply a strong business plan, because Inglewood Community Development Corp is here to assist with that. And last but not least, through SCORE, you will learn how to network, you will learn how to apply that network so that you can build and grow a respective business and understand who your target is in the marketplace. So with that being said, you get to look good today, you get to have money in your bank account, you get to create a plan on how to spend that money, you get to build a client base, locate your first clients, and you get to grow. There's just one problem, and it's probably the biggest problem. Many Americans are taught how to take acquisition. We are the number one consumers. We know how to buy beautiful cars, we know how to buy beautiful clothes, we know how to get the best of hairdos and buy the best of makeup, take luxurious travel, but the place where we spend the least amount of time is on sustainability. How do you maintenance your business over a period of time? How do you sustain on the coldest days of winter? Maybe none of you were here during the polar vortex a few weeks ago. How do you sustain when we have a heat index of 110 in July? I think Stevie Wonder made a song about hotter than July. How do you continue to be a thriving entity on the days when your customer base does not want to spend money, when they are miserable and they don't want to come out of their homes? And hopefully, Fifth Third will spend a lot of time talking to you about what it means to have reserves. So what I've learned in business is the necessity to build great teams, to put in emotional deposits so that we have sustainability and reserves in people, and how to tuck money away for the coldest and hottest days and conditions. It's such an important factor in being able to apply in business. I'm a lifelong learner. I read about our business, I read about our industry on a day-to-day basis. I encourage people around me to read about our industry, and I read about other industries as well. Because part of what I've learned is the best learning that happens in my life is life experience, and hindsight truly is 2020. So I took the daunting task of going out and raising money some years ago for a project that I thought was my next greatest hit. And I went to all the people that I knew that had all the money. And I got a super response from people in terms of their engagement, in terms of the business plan, in terms of the layout, and in terms of how great they thought the idea was. But a gentleman said to me, I think all of this is awesome, but I won't loan you any money. And I said, well, if it's all awesome, then, doesn't the money kind of go with the awesome? Is there a disconnect here? And the person said to me, well, the problem is you have an amazing story and you've got an amazing idea, but none of that tells me where the pitfalls are in your experience. And if you can't tell me how you've walked past failure or through failure, then essentially what you're telling me is you plan on me giving you my money and failing with it and figuring out how you're going to overcome failure on my dime. And so I quickly went back and rejiggered my business plan. And that was probably one of the hardest lessons I learned in business, but one of the most instrumental lessons I've learned in business. Business requires the ability to stretch, and it requires the ability to change. If you are not willing to change and you are not willing to be stretched out of your comfort zone, you're not willing to do business. You're just not. Because every customer is not going to be alike. Every customer relationship is not going to be alike. Every engagement with a customer is not going to be alike. And the truth is, no matter how good our idea is, we're not willing to fund our own idea. I'm not going to sit in an empty restaurant every night and pay all the bills and be happy that I'm cooking for myself. The whole goal is to have people come to the restaurant, support the idea, support the food, support the service, and feel good about what we're representing day in and day out. And that's the concept with most businesses. None of us open businesses so that we can fund the business and then support the sustainability over a period of time. The whole goal is to present something to the marketplace and have a deep connection, a rich connection with our customer base. I want to encourage each and every one of you, as you sit and you think about what your concepts are, to also think about the one thing that wasn't mission. What is your mission? Why am I doing this? If you're simply doing it because you want to earn a living or earn income, I'll be the first to tell you it's not enough. All the holidays you thought that you would take because you own the place, you're probably going to miss some of them. All the extra hours you thought you would be at home as a result of being the owner, you're probably not. All the times that you thought that, you know what, they didn't allow me to leave early, well, you can throw early out the window because that's not a concept for owners. And so if you're going to give that much of your time and give that much of yourself, then why not do it with purpose? So, my last point. Most adults resign to the idea that once they reach adulthood, correction is over, they have all that they need to succeed, and the reality is you couldn't be any further from the truth. Business is the most intense collaborative effort you could ever undertake. You need people more than you ever needed them in your life. Most business owners seek out mentorship. Many of them seek out great accountants, great attorneys, And last but not least, you need a customer base. And so part of the reason why you have to be open to stretch and be open to change is because it's a constant ebb and flow. It's what allows us to be relevant. It's what allows us to grow through the winters, right? And I don't mean the physical winters of Chicago, but the winters in business, those coldest days. It's what allows us to grow when we thought our best idea was going to work, but for some strange reason, some other idea happens to work much better than the one that we spent all our time and energy in. And you have to be really, really flexible. Looking at this group, it feels like we're going to have a lot of new entrepreneurs in Chicago. I will tell you that when I started doing business and when I started with the group that I belonged to for a long period of time, we didn't have the resources that you all have. I'm going to guess that many of you are Chicago residents. Some of you may be a part of this community or the surrounding communities in the area. And the truth is, many of us spend time complaining about all that the city doesn't do and all of the resources that we don't have. And so when I take the position to have everybody take a moment and give themselves a round of applause for the energy and the effort that they put into coming in today, it's with reason. And the reason is because you're worth it. You're worth it, your city is worth it, your communities have value, and I just want to say personally thank you again for all coming out and for this wonderful group that has assembled us all together. We will open up for questions, I believe, and I'll end again by asking you all to give yourselves, not me, a round of applause.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Chef Williams dropped so many gems today. I saw some people feverishly taking notes. I believe we are recording this, so within the next week or two, we'll have it posted on our website in case you missed any of those gems. But thank you again, Chef, for joining us today. I was encouraged. I was inspired. So I know that a lot of our entrepreneurs in the audience were inspired as well.
Thank you.
So with that being said, we're going to open up the floor for a few questions. We have a microphone in the back, and we have one of our team members, Lilia Chacon, who will help. So if you could just make your way to the back if you have questions.
Thank you so much. I was truly blessed. I didn't even know you were going to be here. Did you have any formal training?
I don't know. If you consider my grandmother a formal coach, then that could be formal training.
Okay, good.
In all sincerity, I learned how to cook in kitchens. Okay. So formal training by way of a culinary degree, no. Okay. But I started the old-fashioned way, as many of the entrepreneurs have in our great country and our great state. And I literally worked my way from the bottom to ownership.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
How you doing, Chef?
How are you?
Basically, I wanted to thank you for coming out and giving your speech today. You were absolutely right about people opening businesses and especially being a chef, let's say, the holidays and things. I wanted to ask you, being a chef myself, how do you balance work time and off time? Because that's my biggest problem. People getting me trying to work off time when I'm not working in the restaurants, do other food and things. How do you balance that personal time?
I think one of the really important things in business, and I touched on this a little bit, is having a mission. And you have to stay true to that mission because it's your mission. And so I have the same challenging conversations that I used to have, the same challenging conversations that most people have that are in this business in particular. What are you buying for Valentine's Day? Have you gone Christmas shopping yet? Will you be hanging out with us after the funeral? And usually the answer to all of those is no. Because the reality is, the restaurant's customer base is not sitting around hoping that I'm going to come in. They're actually expecting me to come in. And so on everyone else's Valentine's Day, that's my busiest season. And so during Christmas time, leading up to Christmas time, people feel festive. They feel good about that space, and they're spending. And I would be foolish to leave capital as a business owner on the table so that I could go out and spend money and celebrate with them. So what I do, because part of my mission is making sure that I create sustainability, is I create my own holidays. So I have a Valentine's Day that I create, and I try to create it often. I have Christmas multiple times a year. If I decide during a slow week that it's going to be Christmas, then it's Christmas. And I've yet to walk in the house with a handful of gifts and have somebody turn me around and say, you know what, you're late. So that's how I cope with it.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Williams. How you doing?
I'm great. And yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you, sir. My name is Devontae Poole, and I just had maybe a two-part question for you. During your speech, you mentioned that a gentleman had asked you, tell you how you walk past your failures, how you overcame your shortcomings. Could you just give us a little information about that, elaborate on that for us? Like, how did you answer that question when you presented it to you?
So in my specific field, being culinary arts, I've both opened about a half a dozen restaurants. I've also been the anchor on the team that's closed about 3 or 4 restaurants. And so I understand what the panic feels like when a company's closing. I understand what it feels like to have that kind of pressure. There is never a good time to tell anybody that they don't have a job. We wrestle with this every year. I ran a restaurant for a very long time, and we would have people who underperformed. And those underperformers, if you fire them right before Christmas, when you're about to hit your busiest season and you really need high performers, then the first thing is said is that person's heartless. They fired me right before Christmas. They knew I had a measure to meet. They knew I had things to take care of. If you fire them January 15th, then they say, I can't believe they fired me January 15th. Because if I had known, I would have found another job during the Christmas season. There is never a good time to make the tough decisions. And so what I was able to present and put together over a period of time is how I stood in those challenging situations. The position I took, once again, leading back to what the mission was and what our expectation was. You can't imagine how many countless testimonials I've received as a young man over a period of time for people either I've had to lay off, fire, and or people who have quit, who have come back and told me that they're glad that I drew a line in the sand. I worked for a gentleman for a long period of time that said one of the best things someone had done for him in his life was fire him. Because up until that point, he didn't understand how serious it was to work with somebody. He just took it all for granted. I'll just keep showing up. They'll just keep paying me. I don't really have to do that much. And that's how it's going to go. And the reality is, as an owner or entrepreneur, you will find a lot of those people, right, who spend more time on their phones than they do doing their jobs, who spend more time worried about what's going on at home than what's going on in the plant or the facility, who spend more time thinking about what they're going to do when they leave the job than they do while they're at the job. And so at some point you have to think about how you are going to overcome personally those spaces and how you're going to address those challenges on a day-to-day basis. So someone on my team asked me the other day, and I'll answer both parts of the question at one time. They said, you seem so pessimistic. I said, no, I'm not that pessimistic. I'm actually very optimistic. And they said, yeah, well, I heard you say to someone once that you show up every day expecting people not to show up to work. And I said, yeah, that's a fair assessment. And they said, well, how do you show up believing that the people aren't going to show up? I said, because that's the only way I'm going to convince myself that I should show up every day ready to hit the ground running. If I don't expect anybody to be at work, then I got to expect that I'm going to do a lot of work that day. And if everybody shows up, guess what? It's a bonus. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Great morning, sir. I just
Great
have
morning.
one quick question. Wanted the backbone off him about your failures. Of course, I just wanted to know, how many years did you fail before you got your big success? How many years did you wake up being that hungry lion before you got your first gazette?
We're gonna have to postpone that question, and you need to ask me that when I'm 80, because I'm still waking up as that hungry lion. I'm still failing on a regular basis, and I'm still working through that process. So, in preparation to speak today, I did some research, and I wanted to know what other entrepreneurs thought about their space as entrepreneurs and owners. And one of the things that was consistent in the research is being an owner is like a roller coaster. Some days you're ambitious, you're excited, you feel like you're successful, you've achieved your goal. Other days, you are at the bottom, you're wondering what in the heck you just got yourself into and why in the world you did this. And that not only happens on a day-to-day basis, it can happen all day, on any day. You can walk in the job, feel really, really good, and then 5 minutes later, you wonder why in the world, you open the place. And then 10 minutes later, you feel like, okay, I got this, and then 15 minutes later, you're saying, nobody understands what I'm trying to do here. I don't know why I did this. I should have did something else. And so, back to the common theme here, my resolve every day is to provide a space that has value. It's part of my mission, a space that's sustainable. The reason we opened the restaurant had nothing to do with my ego or nothing to do with my need to make a lot more money. I actually have a successful business that runs independent of the restaurant that I've been doing many years, and it's in real estate. I looked around one day, as I would challenge any entrepreneur to do, and I saw a void. And capitalism capitalizes on voids. You sell things that people need. And I saw a space, a huge space, where people were not able to sit at dinner tables anymore and discuss and collect and negotiate and feel like they were valued while they were in that space. The food is secondary. Food's just a vehicle for you to become comfortable in the space. And so part of the reason why I ushered in that whole ideation in the form of virtue is because as a young boy I grew up, I can't remember one thing that my great-grandmother cooked. But I do remember how she treated me. And I do remember the level of attention that she gave me when I was present. And I said to myself, I spend money just like everybody else does in the city. I go to restaurants that have bulletproof glass. I go to restaurants that are full service. I go to restaurants where they will serve you 20, 30 course menus. But the question is, at any of those restaurants, when I spend my money, do I feel valued? And so that's what we look to do every day. And so I can feel a lot better about those failures and those highs and lows because I know why I'm there. I'm not there contingent upon whether or not our profit margin hits X. I'm there because I'm trying to provide value in a marketplace. Interestingly enough, you didn't ask this question, but I'll give you the answer to it. This is the first time in my adult life I've showed up at work, and every single day I am on the floor in that restaurant, someone thanks me for opening the doors. I've never, ever received that kind of gratitude for the work that I do.
Hi, I have a question for you, actually, too. My first question is, how do you deal with competitors and be open to new ideas? And my second question is, how do you balance building your business while you were working for someone else when you first started your company?
I think that was 3 questions, but say the first one again.
Well, you definitely listening, okay? Okay, so the first question is, how do you deal with competitors?
I don't address competition, and I don't get myself wrapped up in it. And I'll tell you exactly why. This was actually written in the speech, and I just went by it. Whether or not you're into basketball or not, most people in this room know who LeBron James is. LeBron James spends a great portion of his time working on his craft. He reviews tape, and then he works harder. The tape helps him take a position on how he's going to approach the competing team, the team that he's competing with. But it does not teach him how to get better at his game. He has to commit to that. Serena Williams does the same. Tiger Woods does the same. So if I want to achieve greatness, or I want to be respected in my own craft, skill, and or workplace, my time is best suited working on my craft. I would warn or caution the competition to make sure that they're working on theirs.
Okay, and then the last question is how did you balance building your own brand while you were working for someone else?
Well, I wasn't working for anyone else when I was building my own brand or what it would call you. I actually took some time off. And then I realized I had been building that brand for some period of time, unbeknownst to me. Part of what you're hearing is my life full circle. I didn't just start thinking about a mission yesterday. I was working on it all the time. I may not have been able to phrase it as eloquently as I can today, but this is 20 years of work in the making. How I identify with people, how I listen when people ask questions or critique what I do was all trained because that was what my job requirement was. We wouldn't have been in a space that was open for almost 20 years in a city that's as hard as this city to sustain a business if we weren't listening to the people who wanted to be there. One thing I would say, because I would be remiss to say this, I had the opportunity some years ago, and I haven't been able to find this video yet. I saw it once, and I just haven't been able to find it. But there was an interview with Mario Van Peebles, the elder. And for those who are too young to know, Mario Van Peebles is a producer and writer of movies way before Spike Lee was a thing or could get excited about winning an Oscar. Mario Van Peebles left because he wasn't able to make a living in this country and went to Europe, where he sustained himself over a period of time. Now his son has been able to follow in his shoes and do the same thing. And so they asked Mario, if you gave your son one bit of advice, what would you give your son to help him propel his directing and acting career? And he said, if you show up at an application, if you show up for a gig and they ask you for a yellow Schwinn, go get it and sell it to them. And everybody, including me, who was sitting at home when I watched this, sat there in amazement wondering what in the heck this guy was talking about. But the reality is, in business, you have to sell people what they want. If you're not selling what they want, then they will go somewhere else and they will find it. And so that is how I deal with competition. That is how I deal with my rigor in the workplace. And that's how we deal with sustainability. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you all for showing up.
Such an honor for Chef to take time out of his busy schedule to join us today and to share with you. And so with that, we'd like to present you with an honorary business license.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You got a time. Thank you again. Thank you all.
Another round of applause for Chef Erick Williams. And so I would encourage, if you would like to see what he's talking about when he talks about just adding value to a space, I would encourage you guys to stop by his restaurant from the moment you walk in and they ask for your code, to the attention to detail that he pays attention to, even with the place settings and the way that the food is presented. It's absolutely amazing. So I would encourage you guys to check it out. The braised ribs are amazing, and people do rave. I'm not a gizzard either, but people definitely rave about the chicken gizzards and how amazing and tender they are. But I would definitely encourage you guys to stop by 53rd Street and check out his restaurant. So with that being said, we have more opportunities for you guys to add to your tool belt with resources. We have 3 workshops that are happening right now. We went a little bit over, but we didn't want to interrupt the questions because they were so good. And again, Chef Williams was dropping so many gems. If you missed some, again, we'll have the video posted on our website. But we have 3 workshops. The first is Roadmap to Business Financing, and all of our workshops are on the 2nd floor. So our Roadmap to Business Financing is in room 221. How to really start your business. So you really want to know the secrets of starting your business. That's in room 222. And how to write a 1-page business plan. So business plans that used to be 30 pages, those days are long and gone. How do you make your business plan concise? That is in room 223. So we encourage you guys to go to our workshops, and again, check out our exhibitors that are in the main hall. And then from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we have our networking hour that will be right next door in the black box. I encourage you guys, networking is key to having a successful business. So there may even be people in this space that you may be able to partner with or learn from. So we encourage you guys to go to networking hour. Is it food there? And there's food. So that's an incentive for you to stop by after the workshops from 1 to 2 and check out the networking hour and the black box. And then just another quick plug, we do have a podcast. You can check out that on our website, and it's on SoundCloud. It's BAC Chicago BACP, and we interview business owners from across the city, and you can learn about what they've done to become successful. And again, we have our workshops on Wednesday and Fridays that are free. So before you pay for services, we ask that you check out our website and that you also check out our workshops. If at that point you don't have what you need, then go ahead and pay. Don't pay too much, but we have a feeling that you'll be able to get what you need for free from us. And so thank you guys again for coming out. We really appreciate it. Thank you to Chef. Thank you to Ronza from Fifth Third. And a great big thanks to the BACP team for putting this together.